One of the best things you can ever do in your life is to change your words. I said one of the best things you can ever do in your life is change your words. There's a scripture in the Bible, in Proverbs, that says death and life are in the power of the tongue. In other words, your tongue, your words have the ability to shape your world. I said your words has the ability to shape your world. You can either speak death over your life, or you can begin to speak life over who you are. And you got to get to a place where you stop talking death and start talking life. You got to get to a place where you say, you know what, I got to stop talking about what I don't have and who's not here and what someone didn't give me. I got to stop talking death and I got to start talking life. Your world is a result of words you have spoken. When you look at your life, I promise you there is a connection between the life you live and the words you have spoken. And I challenge you right now, you got to get to a place where you start speaking what you want to see. You got to say what you want to see. You got to say, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. I want to build legacy. I want to be healthy. I want to have a good marriage. Matter of fact, just say I am. I am blessed. I am favored. I am healed. I am set free. I am victorious. I am an overcomer. I am overcoming these challenges. I am debt free. I am a powerful person. I am a spiritual person. I am a blessed man. I am a blessed woman. You got to speak not what you see, but what you want to see. When God in the old
Shalom Aleichem, Yisrael, peace be on you. Your home founder, we with you here humbly so on Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians on the 27th of August 2023, the year of their Lord. I am. That was Brian M. Bullock. You can look him up on YouTube, Brian M. Bullock. I hope we're going to pick that up where he left off. Very inspiring. Your words can be your reality. Yisrael, where are your accusers? We're continuing on. Actually, this is segment number 40 of the B'Mil Otah series, in his own words. So obviously we're not going to be able to get it all done because there's probably about 10 more episodes left. Trumpets is on September the 14th at 9:40 p.m. That's when the new moon will be in full effect. And then Atonement is on September 24th. And then, of course, 5 days later is Sukkot. It's so-called September the 29th. So obviously we're not going to be able to finish this because so we're going to go on. It's probably I'm estimating about 10 more episodes left. So we got 3 more to go before Trumpets. Toda Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. Last week we talked about how serious Yahweh Shua takes it about harming children. Nowhere in his ministry does he try to get you to follow him out of fear. He never tries to get you to be scared. He never tries to scare you with hell. None of his ministry gets you to run from Satan and run to him. All of his ministry is about, hey, here I am, receive me, receive the love of me because I first loved you. Yet, we in this doctrine about harming children, he puts the fear of Yah. He says, he talks about woe, he talks about going to hell, he talks about hellfire. He says it's better for you never to be born. Wow. Nothing worse can be said about a soul than it was best that you never existed. This is how serious Yahweh Shua was about the soul that harms a child. You know, he said, if you want to even enter the kingdom, you have to be like a child. Not in terms of being immature, but in terms of the honesty of a child, the purity of a child. And this is why you must do well with children, because they receive what you say, they believe, and you're imprinting on them. And they're going to carry that with them until they're mature enough to weed out what they shouldn't have on them. You know, I want to get some statistics. I didn't do this last week. I'm going to do it now because this is serious about abortion. In 1970, in the United States, there were 615,000 legal abortions. In 1980, it went up to 1.5 million. In 1990, it remained at 1.5 million. And then it started going down in the year 2000s. All right, it went down to 1.3 million. And then 10 years ago, down to 1.1 million. Now today is about 1 million a year. So in America, it's starting to get more conservative, and abortions are going down. Remember now, we're talking about legal abortions. I didn't give the high. There's some strong numbers to give of other abortions that are going on. But what about worldwide? Well, guess what? This surprised me. USSR leads the world in abortions per thousand at 53.7 abortions per 1,000. That's how miserable they are in USSR. They don't want to have no children over there. Number 2 is Vietnam, 35.2, Kazakhstan, 35, Estonia, 33.3, Belarus, 31.7, Romania, 27.8, Ukraine, and that's why I don't give a flip what they're doing over there in Ukraine, 27.5. So you got USSR and Ukraine, total about 80 deaths per 100,000. I don't give a flip. They can blow the place up. I don't care. They don't like black people anyway, and they're aborting children. Latvia, 27.3. All on that side of the Atlantic. All these abortions on that side of the Atlantic. Cuba, you got to come on this side of on the Atlantic, and when you get to Cuba at 24.8, then go back on the other side of the Atlantic to China at 24 murders. Call abortion what it is, murders per 1,000. Where does America come in? America comes in not far behind China at 20.8, because America's getting more conservative, 20.8 murders per 1,000 live births. The best nations on earth, or the number 1 is Mexico, 0.1. 0.1. They want their babies. 0.1, and they're your new ninjas. Everything down there is taking over you, and they're taking your jobs, taking your. They're the new minority, loved minority by Americans. So 0.1 per 1,000. That's beautiful. Portugal, 0.2. Qatar, which makes sense, 1.2. Australia, 1.3. Little surprise to me. India, 3.1. South Africa, 4.5. Greece, 5. Croatia, 5.7. Switzerland, 7.3. Belgium, 7.5. In the world, there are 73 million murders per year of innocent souls. 73 million. That's a lot. Let me give you an idea. So that's 200,000 a day, 8,333 an hour, 139 per minute, 2.314 murders per second. Legally. All those numbers go up when you talk about all the illegal murders going on in what they call abortions. How huge is 73 million per year? The entire population of the United Kingdom. How much is it, Chris?
The entire population
of the United Kingdom. I had no idea, but it's not. The murders per year is 73 million. How much people is in the United Kingdom?
Maybe 200 million. 300
No,
million?
I thought it's only 67 million.
Really?
I didn't know. That's why
The United States got more people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's 67.5 million in the United Kingdom. It is a small. That influences the world.
Yeah.
So that means that if you murdered, line everybody up in the United Kingdom, blasted their brains out against the wall, there's still more abortions than that. That means you can totally empty all of the United Kingdom, and you still will fall 8 million short. That's a lot. I want to put that. People grasp that how many murders of innocents. That's not enough people in the United Kingdom to cover it.
That's a crazy statistic.
That's why I brought it up. In the United States, at 1 million murders per year, which again, at the height, we were at 1.5 million per year. It's gone down. That's still 2,740 a day. Now, at 1 million a year, now you might know this a little bit, be close with this. How many people are in Baltimore about?
700,000.
Okay, you're closer. It's about 600,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're right there.
Yeah.
So all of Baltimore can be emptied. Almost twice. Almost twice before you match up with the murders of abortions in America. Can you imagine waking up and everybody in Baltimore gone?
Well, that's Baltimore and Baltimore's county. Right?
Okay, there you go. So let's say
That, yeah.
Chris just said, well, just instead of doing it, just do Baltimore County as well.
So, yeah, whole Baltimore.
Everybody's gone. That's how many murders are done in this. So you see why Yahweh was so strong about hellfire? He didn't preach about love and kumbaya and forgiveness and all this kind of stuff, which he preaches in the ministry, and I'm not going to, okay, that's fine. But when it came to this, he was like, hell no. Hell no. It would have been best that you were never born. They should just take, you know what they did to Emmett Till? He said, y'all should do like an Emmett Till to you. To you. For aborting a child. What you call it, but it's murder. That's what it is. Now, so I want to just get those statistics out there because it's so impacting and I just want to get that out there. Last week we also talked about the importance of how much Yahweh Shua loves us. We know that Moshe, how this whole thing, the law came down, Moshe left the flock for one sheep. Went up on the mountain, that sheep led him to the burning bush. Well, Yahweh Shua says, I'm Moshe part 2, the greater Moses, and he leaves the whole flock to gain one. And all of heaven rejoices, the record says, for one lost sheep that is returned. That's how much he loves you. Each one of us are important. Which this sheep backs, I won't say piggyback, sheep's back on the fact of why it's important not to murder innocent children. Because Yahweh is saying each soul is important to him. All souls belong to me. Well, he was going to have Down syndrome. What they got to do with you murdering? You gonna play me. Because he would have had some kind of defect. Or she would have had some kind of defect. So you gonna take my role. No. Then he talks about how takes 2 or 3 people to support a brother in his error, or try to support one another, be forgiving. He said about how powerful, reason why I opened up what I opened up with, the power of your words. What you bound on earth is bound in heaven. What you bound in heaven will bound up what you said on earth. They will support it. So this is why I opened up what I opened up with. I'm going to try to close out with that. He talks about those who forgive from the heart do not keep score. Talked about the servant who the wickedness of this servant who owed his master 60 million days of work, which comes out to be 164,384 years with no time off. Can you imagine? Some of us are tired from working a lot of jobs. Can you imagine? Now that's why I'm looking at you.
60 million years?
Yeah, but that's also 164,384 years of straight working, no time off. That's 100 days work. And so you can't possibly pay that back. So what the master was doing was really saying, I forgive you. Yet this man was so wicked, somebody owed him the equivalent of 100 days work. And like I said, I could pay that back. You give me 4 years of time, 1 month a year, I work for you for free, pay off my debt. You can pay back 100 days of time. It's difficult, but it's doable. What he owed was not doable. So he didn't want to forgive his brother and show you the add stupidness on top of dumbness. He had the man locked up. Now how you going to get your money? How you going to get... Now his wife now got to get government cheese and government bologna. Take care of children. Now she's on welfare because you locked her husband up for owing you 100 days work. She'd rather have her husband gone for a month at a time to pay you back instead of locking him up. Now you can't get your money. That shows you how foolishness and wicked this man was. Don't be a foolish, wicked person. Don't be a foolish, wicked servant. Because our debts are unpayable. Receive grace, not the law. And again, they didn't receive this. This whole series is supposed to teach you the deeper matters of the law. This is what this is all about. It's about understanding the spiritual ramifications of the law, not the letter. Because if you go by the letter, you ain't getting in. You're not getting in. This is what Yahushua was teaching. Then we talked about how Yahushua was not respected or appreciated by his own brothers. Familiarity breeds contempt. And there was a great stir about this man in the temple. Some believed, some didn't. Now there's something very telling. We read from John 7 verses 14 through 52. And in that we see that Yahushua was once again doing his teaching in the tabernacle. And you wonder, some people wonder, well, how did he have rights to just go in and start preaching? And remember in 2.5 years before this, how he read from Isaiah, the Spirit of Yahweh is upon me. Well, during this time, you had rights to go ahead and pick up a scroll and start teaching in the temple if you were a learned person and a Torah keeper. Obviously, Yahushua was a Torah keeper. But it's evident, clear and evident, if you was able to read. Does this mean that people were dumb back then? No. During the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, when we came out of our last great captivity, it wasn't the last, but the last great captivity, we went away from the original script. So we started using a more modern script, using code. The Torah was then transferred to code. Everything you read about the today's, like for instance, the block script you see, the Jewish handwriting, the Jewish writing, that's code. Just like our English letters and Latin and German, everything is written. You can call it code. You call them letters, but it's really code. What makes the letter B the B sound? What makes the letter L the L sound? It's arbitrary. You can make any shape you want and say that's how you say the M sound. Make it shaped like a C. Why doesn't the C make the M sound? And why does the M don't make the C sound? It's code. It's arbitrary. Well, that's not how it originally was. The original. This is why you gotta tune out and subscribe to Yahweh for Hebrews and Christians. Ibarit was in pictographic Ibarit. That's how it's supposed to be. And I'm the first one on social media to drop that about 6 years ago. Now you see it everywhere. People act like they learned something new. I dropped it on the Hebrew community 6 years ago. Pictographic Ibarit was how it was. That way it can't be manipulated. You can see the pictures and you know what it said. You got Egyptian hieroglyphics and you have Eastern languages kind of have pictographic languages as well. So they want to know, how did this man, this is in last week's lesson in John 7:14-52, how does he know this stuff when he hasn't studied letters? So they say, how can he read these letters? Because it was in the letters that most people can't read now. We will all be illiterate right now if they changed every letter that we read from and made them different sounds. Got rid of all the books and reordered or made different symbols. All of a sudden, does that mean you're stupid? All of a sudden, no. This means now you can't read because all the new letters have different sounds. You have to relearn how to read again. So that's the kind of situation. About 1.5% to 2% of the population could read. The non-leaders, not the leaders. Of course, the leaders and the priests and all that, and the rabbinate, they could read. But the regular people, about around 2%. I gave the actual statistics in my first book, the actual numbers. I have them in there. The actual numbers of what the percentage of people could read. Not because they were dumb, because everything was codified. And they saying, how does this man know letters? The reason why I spent time on that because it's going to feed into a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So yes, he had knowledge, not formal education from man, just like I don't have it. Did Peter have it? The disciples have it? The only one who had formal education was the one that betrayed him, Judas. None of the other disciples had formal education to teach what they were teaching. They got it from the original rabbi himself, Yahushua HaMashiach, as do I. So last week, Yahushua was trying to get it through the scribes and Pharisees' head about the spiritual implications of the law of Moshe as opposed to the physical. For instance, Moshe says, thou shalt not kill. What was the spiritual implication of that? If you curse your brother and think evil of him, you're killing him. So they didn't get it, of course. They didn't see the spiritual nature of what Moshe was giving them. And Yahweh taught boldly, fearlessly, this truth, this emet. He didn't have fear of them like the regular people did, because they didn't want to be thrown out of the temple. If you're thrown out of the temple, you're saying you're going to hell, because your access to Yahweh was through the temple. So he had no fear of that, of course. So in speaking to them, they didn't understand him. They had confusion of face, and this is what those who don't follow Yahweh have. They are dumbfounded, befuddled. They don't understand this man because they come from their father, the devil. This is what Yahweh said. Also in this ministry, Yahweh Hebrews Christians, I teach that Yahweh spoke true Ibarit. That's akin to us right now listening to somebody who speaks 1611 English. They're speaking English. We speak English, but we have a difficult time understanding them, even though we're speaking the same language. The difference being is they're speaking a more archaic or original form of English. A closer to the original form of English, which will make it hard for us to understand. So this is how Yahweh was difficult to understand sometimes, because he was speaking a more original form of Hebrew. So once again, he talks about how the rulers and the Pharisees did not believe. Talked about how Nicodemus said, well, let's give him a chance, but Nicodemus is the one who ultimately began the Catholic faith. He is the progenitor of Catholicism. Now that's a brief synopsis. Let's go now to our first one, Brother Chris. John 8, 1 through 11. I'm going to break in there though. Gotcha. John 8, 1 through 11. This is the adulterous bride.
But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him. And he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him,
Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say?
This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up.
He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first.
And again,
I want to stop it right there. So a lot is going on here. We have here the Pharisees wanting to challenge Yahweh to enact a law of Moshe of stoning a woman who is married but is found in adultery. Now, we see that this is Yahweh after having prayed all night at the Mount of Olives. Remember, he already knows what's coming to him. He already knows the battle of spiritual warfare that's waiting for him. And he comes down from that mountain praying all night long at the Mount of Olives at the almond tree that he's going to be sacrificed on in about 6 months from this narrative. Can you imagine that? He's right there at the place where he's going to be strung up, praying all night long. Comes down from the mountain, goes into the temple, and teaches the people. These people who come to him are the remnant. These are the women, the children, the elderly men, not the ones who are still trying to follow the Pharisees' laws and trying to be righteous men, but this is the ones who are marginalized and disenfranchised, lightly regarded, unregarded, undereducated, poor. These are the ones who drew to Yahushua, who naturally came to him. So he's teaching the people. And then we see that, here we go, taking the limelight from the Pharisees. Because in the temple you have this big courtyard. You have different teachers all throughout the courtyard, and they're reading and doing the teaching, but Yahushua was getting all the attention. They said, okay, we got him. They're bringing a woman who they had already had adulterous affair. They having sex with the woman. They came in filthy. They're the ones with the husband as the leader. The husband allowed this woman, obviously he didn't love her, to have these fellow henchmen have sex with her and along with him, and then go ahead and bring him in. Not because they don't know this man has discernment. They know this man knows their heart. So they bring him to him, and they want to see what he's going to say about the law of Moses. All right. So now we find that. By the way, this is happening on the Feast of Tabernacles. By the way. So go ahead, brother. Go ahead and pick it up.
And again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground.
Okay, stop. Stop.
Then those who heard it.
So he wrote on the ground. They said it twice. He wrote on the ground. Remember, in the previous narrative, they said, how did this man know what he knows and knows letters? That is to get wake you up a little bit to this narrative about him writing on the ground. Writing. They didn't say what he wrote, but once you see what the outcome is, you know what he wrote. And you see what law was being enacted. So go ahead, brother.
Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her,
Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?
No one, Lord.
Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
Then Jesus spoke to them again.
I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life.
Wow. Isha no offense. Isha no offense. Adulterous wife. But at the end, where are your accusers, Israel? Where are your accusers? For the Isha no offense. For the adulterous wife. He's writing pictographic Ivrit on the ground in the temple. And you notice how it says from the oldest to the youngest. So the oldest ones, they understand the original writings. And they see their name, the name of Yahweh was being written. And then after that, then they would have to be a part of this process. They're the ones that wanted him to enact the laws of Moshe. Now if you go to my second book, I go into detail on this. Because what is supposed to happen is, you got to write the name of Yahweh, which they already were teaching the people not to use the name of Yahweh. Remember that. The teaching was, by the scribes and the Pharisees, was that the name of Yahweh was not to be used. Except for some various times of the year, like I think during the Day of Atonement was one, which is coming up on September 14th. But also during this ceremony right here. Because during this ceremony, the name of Yahweh must be written in the dirt on the floor of the temple, and then some kind of mixture be made with that. Gathered up, you wipe it up, and you put it, and this woman has to drink it. She has to drink it. This is according to the law. Did I go into detail? I spent at least 2 times. I went into a full session going over this, verse by verse. Now, if she's innocent, those who accused her will be stoned. That's who's going to get the punishment. Well, actually, the husband would have to stay with her and marry her, and then she was going to have children, and he's the one that's judged. Now, these other men who had sex with her, they will probably get stoned. If she's guilty, of course, then she gets stoned. But they knew she wasn't guilty. They knew she was raped by the husband and his henchmen. And they saw that Yahweh Shua was enacting the law, stooping down and writing in the dirt this law, beginning with the name Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, his father. And this is why throughout the narrative he keeps saying, you don't know me or my father, where I come from. Because you know of your father. And your father, when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources. Yahweh Shua here is doing a whole lot. This is multi-layered stuff here. He's identifying who he came from and who they came from. He's identifying that he has discernment of the heart. He's identifying the physical aspects of the law and the spiritual aspects of the law. He's identifying what the judgment is. He is putting it all down, and this is why the younger ones took them a while to catch on to it, and they saw, wait a minute, he's writing down this. We know of this. We learned of this. The older ones immediately, they saw Yod, they saw the hand, Wah, they saw the nail, they saw hey. You know what? I bet the older ones left after they saw the hand, the Yod. Then the next oldest ones left. Well, the husband probably left when he saw the first letter go up. Then the one under him, the elders, left when he saw the nail go up. Then the younger ones left when they saw that hay. You know that hay is a man with his arms out. Like, hey, watch it. You better watch it. You beware. And then you have Yod, Hey, Wah, and you have well, actually the second letter is Hey, and then the third letter is Wah, and then the last letter is Hey again. They were all gone by that second watching. They were all gone by that time because they knew that judgment was going to go against them. Yod, Hey, Wah, Hey. The hand, the action, the covenant, connection, be aware of it, watch, hey, then the connection, and then the hey again. This is deep. I implore you to go and contact me for the second book because it's not on Amazon. The first book is on Amazon, not the second one. You have to contact me directly to get that, where I go into detail of it. And then we see that, because indeed this woman was a victim. She was a victim of these men, and she was not out there committing harlotry. This is why he said, where are your accusers? And she said, nowhere, master. He said, neither do I accuse you. Go and sin no more. Go and sin no more. Then he goes and says, what? Oh, I love this, how he dropped the mic on this one. He said, I am the light. Chaya or chaya. Or chaya. I am the light. What does the light do? It lets you see what's there when the darkness goes away. So what he did was, for him, that was not just some random speaking. Remember, I opened up here with inspiring about your words, how important your words are, and how they speak reality. He's letting you know the reality. I am the light. If you got roaches, you want them to go away, turn the light on. They're going to scatter. Turn the light on, the roaches scatter. He said, I am the light, and every last one of those roaches, those wicked men scattered and left because he had put light on the matter. He let the world see what was really going on, that these men are the wicked ones who abused this woman. It is them. They're going to bring them and think, I don't have to serve. Do they know who I am? No, they don't, because they are from their father, the devil. I am the light. And he shed light on what was going on. That this woman, indeed, in Israel, we have been hoodwinked. How the man said? He said hoodwinked, bamboozled. Yeah, bamboozled. We've been waylaid. That's what Shabazz said. That's what Shabazz said. And this is what happened to us. And then they throw us up to the world, and they're going to try to accuse us. Yahweh says, you know what? You've been waylaid. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled. I clean you up. I forgive you. Go and sin no more. They're going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. What are the laws of stoning? They want to just go ahead and stone this woman. There are some laws, specific laws for stoning. In Deuteronomy 13, the false prophet gets stoned. Those men, that's why you see in the Revelations about the hailstones coming down. That's a stoning on the earth. That's Yahweh stoning the sinners. Leviticus 24, you get stoned for blasphemy. And you read Revelations how they raised their fists, looked to the heavens, and blasphemed Yahweh. They're going to get stoned for that. In Leviticus 20:2, they're stoning for worshiping idols and giving your children up to Molech. They're going to get stoned for that, for their abortions, and for worshiping idols. And then in verse 27 of Leviticus 20, they're stoning for witchcraft, for practicing sorcery and witchcraft. They're going to get stoned for that. And then finally, and actually there's two more. In Numbers 15:32-36, there's a misconception about the man being stoned for gathering sticks on a Shabbat. Like he got stoned because he gathered sticks on Shabbat. That's not really what he got stoned for. All you got to do is read a few verses up before that narrative. And you see Yahweh gave a law about stoning for presumptuous sins. For presumptuously sinning. Then the narrative comes with a man gathering sticks. And what he got stoned for was not for gathering sticks on Shabbat. It's because he presumptuously decided to break to violate a commandment of Yahweh. It was his presumptuousness. That's what it was. That you're going to purposely plan on sinning. So he got stoned. Then finally in Deuteronomy 21, you got this law where a young lady who gets married, and then on their married night, the husband finds out that she wasn't a virgin. So she gets stoned. Yeah. That's how it was back in the day, bruh. How many of us married virgin? Ain't too many of us going to be able to raise our hands. Ain't too many of us going to be able to raise our hands. So, but back then, yes, Allah will say she would get stoned. Now, if she was found innocent, then he would have to stay with her, marry her. So we have two laws that's similar. You have the adulterous bride. That's in Numbers 5:11-13. And she's the one that's very detailed. Okay. So all of this, and then you have this one where the new bride is found not to be a virgin. There's two different laws. But I just gave about 6 different scenarios of stoning. Now, remember, Yahweh Shua is the one who bore all of our burdens. Everything points to him. When you read things from the so-called Old Testament and you cannot connect it to Yahweh Shua, that for you is a learning gap. That's a learning opportunity for you. You need to find out why Yahweh put that in there. He does not do things randomly. Yahweh does not use just loose words like additives and fillers and preservatives like you have in your hot dogs. Okay? You heard how I opened up this today's segment with about the power of your words. If Yahweh misspeaks or stutters, then the moon will be in the ocean, the sun would come up every other day, gravity wouldn't work, trees be upside down, whatever. Things, just weird stuff would happen. When he speaks perfectly. And everything is measured and for a purpose and for power. So in all these things of stoning, then you have to see how they pointed to Yahweh Shua. He's accused of being the bad son. Deuteronomy 21:18-21, the disobedient son gets stoned. Yahweh Shua was falsely accused of that. He's falsely accused of being an adulterous bride. He's falsely being accused of being not a virgin. Now, to get a little more detail on that, if a woman was raped in the city, and she was betrothed to a man, and so another man rapes her, and she didn't yell out, they both get stoned because she was just letting it happen and didn't yell out. But if he rapes her in the field or in the country, then only he would get stoned because nobody could hear her, nobody could help her because she was out in the field. So how was Yahweh Shua accused of being the betrothed bride who gets raped or willingly does it? Well, he yelled out. On the tree he yelled out, Azab Tani, Yektiyahu Eliyahu Shali Lama. My mighty one, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken the unity of Yah? He did yell out because he was innocent. And then the other ordinance of stoning the bride in Numbers 5:11-13, if the woman's sheets was bloody, that proves that she was a virgin. So the man lied. He just didn't want her because he didn't like the sex. But if her sheets was bloody, then that is her proof that she was innocent. She was a virgin. How did Yahweh Shua prove that? As he came up from the grave after the third day, he took the shroud. You see how the Catholics had a shroud of Turin and they had the image of Jesus' face on that. Well, that's where they get this from. He took the linen cloth off his face that was bloodied. He folded it up and put it at the doorway at the entrance of the cave. So when Peter and John came in, they saw the bloody cloth folded at the entrance of the cave. That is his proof that he was indeed innocent. He indeed was innocent and a pure bride and innocent virgin to his father. This is deep stuff I'm telling you that you are not hearing from anywhere else. Those two scenarios right there, you have not heard from nowhere. But it's beautiful. It's numbing. It's chilling how much Yahweh Shua loved us. How he took on the guilt. Took on our guilt and our shame in all of these ways. So if you're right, continue to do what's right. It'll show up. Your light will show up in the end. Yahweh will not let you be ashamed. Those who follow him in the love of Yahweh Shua. So there we got that. He says, I am the light. And he just proved by shedding light on those wicked men who dispersed once he started writing there on the ground. According to the law of Moshe. Now we're going to pick up in John 8:12-59 of Yahweh Shua continuing his teachings. So go ahead, brother. Go ahead and pick it up.
The Pharisees therefore said to him,
You bear witness of yourself. Your witness is not true.
Even if I bear witness of myself, my witness is true. For I know where I came from and where I am going. But you do not know where I come from and where I am going. You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And
so we're here, see here, I am the light, Yahweh. Matter of fact, this I am the light means let the creation be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. That's what or means. Doesn't mean physical light, because we know it's 3 days later before we had the sun. So it didn't mean sunlight, it meant the knowledge of Yahweh. So he says, I am the knowledge of Yahweh. I am the light. This is the first words that he spoke in the creation. We know all the world, all the creation was made through him. So here's the light talking to another set of scribes and Pharisees. The other ones ran out. Because you got this huge courtyard and you have different pockets all around of teachings going on. So they're going to come in here and challenge him. And here he is showing the light of whose he is and who they are. Where he came from and where they came from. Because they have their, once again, their own boxed belief of what the Messiah is going to be. What the Messiah is going to look like and what he's going to do. That's what they had. And it does not match the reality of Yahweh Shua HaMashiach. And he says that his witness is true because he's speaking from his father. And he's going to talk about this father thing. Go ahead, brother.
And yet, if I do judge, my judgment is true. For I am not alone, but I am with the Father who sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of 2 men is true. I am one who bears witness of myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness of me.
Where is your father?
You know neither me nor my Father. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also.
These words Jesus spoke in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no one laid hands on him, for his hour had not yet come. Then Jesus said to them again,
I am going away, and you will seek me, and will die in your sin. Where I go, you cannot come.
So the Jews said,
Will he kill himself because he says, Where I go, you cannot come?
All right, so we got here a whole lot going on. We got here where Yahweh Shua is saying, talks about their superficiality and understanding the law. And that's why if you look at it, he says their law. He says your law. he calls it your law. That means it's their understanding of the law, their teaching of the law, from their pulpit. Just like your preachers on, because they're pulling people into the pit. Yahweh's Hebrew men don't teach from no pulpit. We don't pull nobody into a pit. But that's what these Pharisees are doing. That's why Yahweh Shua says it's your law. It's your law. Then he says right here, you notice how this was something. Remember, these words are not just dropped in like additives and fillers and preservatives and just little. They mean something. Why is it noted that he was at the treasury? Because this is the first time where Yehuda is thinking about, you know what, this man's going to step up. Because you remember, Yehuda was he was a teacher too. He was a priest. So he is seeing the priests and the scribes and Pharisees one after another get knocked down by Yahweh Shua, and that's one of his brothers. Judas was a priest. He's the only one that wasn't from Galilee. He's the only one that was born and raised in the city of David, and the only one that had rights and access in and out of the temple, which is why he was able to go in there and make the deal with the priest at the treasury house, because he had access to go in and out as he wished as a priest. Here at this treasury house, there's really 13 boxes. I forget the Hebrew word for it. Oh, here it is. I wrote it down. Otsar. So they had 13 Otsarot. And why 13? This is what as my looking at it, you had that 13th tribe. That's your Edomites. That 13th tribe, 12 tribes of Israel, and that Edomite tribe. So this is where the people go to put in their offerings. And there were 13 boxes for them to put their offerings into. Yahweh Shua starts this narrative that we're in now at that area, at that location, where the people are going in and out to give their monies. And as they come in, they stop to hear him teach. So we see, Yehuda was looking at those money boxes and figuring out how can he connect these two, where they can go and take this kingdom, because he believed in this man. But again, in his box understanding, just like the scribes and the Pharisees and the priests and all of them were doing. Same way, he was just like them. And what is Yahweh Shua saying? You need to go to see Jerry Springer. You want to find out who your father is? Because it ain't the one I come from. You go and see Jerry Springer, let him go ahead and show you the paperwork on where you came from. Because I know where I came from. I also know where you came from. All right, go ahead, brother. Pick it up.
You are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. Therefore I said to you that you will die in your sins. For if you do not believe that I am he, you will die in your sins.
Who are you?
Just what I have been saying to you from the beginning. I have many things to say and to judge concerning you, but he who sent me is true. And I speak to the world those things which I heard from him.
They did not understand that he spoke to them of the Father.
When you lift up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Father taught me, I speak these things, and he who sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for I always do those things that please him.
As he spoke these words, many believed in him. Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him,
If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
We are Abraham's descendants and have...
So we got here, people starting to believe in this man. Even some of the Edomites who come in, they're starting to believe in him. Because that's who the Yehud, the Yahudim, the Eodain they called them. That's what the Greeks called them. So he is saying there's a clear difference between me and you. We have a different ideology. We come from a different place. This is why you're not understanding. He is saying clearly, speaking in clear Ibarit, yet they still are not understanding him. They have what, again, those who are outside of Yahweh have confusion of face, weeping and gnashing of teeth. They leave this man weeping and gnashing of their teeth in hatred, not in teshuvah, not in repentance, but in hatred, in pure hatred, and not understanding. You know, everybody in the family knows. You know who mom and dad is. You all from the same place, grew up together. They didn't come up with this man, not with this man. All right, go ahead, brother.
Never been in bondage to anyone. How can you say you will be made free?
Most assuredly, I say to you, whoever commits sin is a slave of sin. And a slave does not abide in the house forever, but a son abides forever. Therefore, if the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. I speak what I have seen with my father, and you do what you have seen with your father.
Abraham is our father.
If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth which I heard from God. Abraham did not do this. You do the deeds of your father.
We were not born of fornication. We have one Father, God.
If God were your father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Nor have I come of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech?
Here we go again. Back and forth, back and forth. Now, they again are uncovering who they are. So even here in English, you know, you don't have to go to the original words all the time. You can see it right here. They said, we have never been in bondage. Well, that tells you right then and there, they were not Hebrew. We Hebrews came from Mizraim. Your Bible says Egypt. We were in bondage for over 100 years under the Mizrahites. We have a record. It's all known that the Hebrews were in bondage. Esau was not in bondage. Esau has never been in bondage to anyone. So they said it right there. They have never been in bondage to anyone. That tells you right there, even in English, that these are not Yahweh's covenanted peoples he's arguing with here. These leaders were set up by the Romans because they were Edomite leaders who would continue the Roman rule, who had no desire to change the status quo. The only desire was the Pax Roma. That means the peace of Rome. That's what their job was. They just wanted to keep the order as it was, with them being rich and in charge of the access of the peoples to Yahweh via the temple laws, rights, statutes, judgments. Under the old Mosaic system, they waxed in wealth and power and authority over Yahweh's covenanted peoples, co-signed by the Romans. This is what Yahweh Shua's ministry is up against. And this is what you are up against today. Please don't call yourself waking up and then again get on the social airwaves and try to put new brews who under the yoke of bondage of Moses. Please don't continue. How can you fall at that error if you already seen what was done before you? You're supposed to learn from that. This is what he's going up against. And this is what, again, for the third time in this narrative alone, there's a difference between the physical and the spiritual. He agreed with them. Yes, you are physically from the seed of Abraham. From Abraham came Yitzhak. From Yitzhak came who? Esau and Jacob. So Esau, the Edomite, yes, did come from Abraham's seed. Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You are physically from me, but you are not spiritually from me. That's why you never were in bondage. You were from the seed, the devil. Once again, another lesson you haven't heard from anywhere else. How you were created, because when Esau saw the devil's face behind the back of Abraham, he peeked out from behind Abraham's head. Isaac was about to be sacrificed, saw that, and it put fear in his heart. That messed up the genes in his gonads. Esau, the Edomite, is a mutated gene. He comes from a mutated gene. Now, I have to say again, so people who haven't seen some of the early broadcasts, the Jews are not Edomites. I just want to keep on saying it out there. They are. And now and one thing I'm going to have to change on me. I was saying there's about 1,200 of them. No, there's not. 144,000. That's the devil's 144,000. Orangutan looking wicked men. Looking like orangutans. Red and hairy. Looking like orangutans. 144,000 of them. That's the devil's elect. That's his elect. And they are from a mutated gene of Yahweh's people. That's where they come from, the devils. Go ahead, brother. Finish it out.
Because you are not able to listen to my word, you are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it. But because I tell the truth, you do not believe me. Which of you convicts me of sin? And if I tell the truth, why do you not believe me? He who is of God hears God's words. Therefore you do not hear, because you are not of God.
Do we not say rightly that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?
I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks and judges. Most assuredly I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death.
Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham is dead, and the prophets. And you say, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who is dead, and the prophets are dead? Who do you make yourself out to be?
If I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father who honors me, of whom you say that he is your God. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be a liar like you. But I do know him and keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad.
You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?
Most assuredly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am.
Then they took up stones to throw at him. But Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by.
Boy, oh boy. Now I'll tell you, those wicked demon double bastard dogs are going to die, calling the living Elohim a demon. But look how they responded when he said, Hi-ah, I am. They wanted to stone him right there in the temple. Break the law, even Moses. You're not supposed to stone somebody right there in the temple. They was going to do it right there. And they're righteous? They were going to stone the man right there in the temple? Damn them. But he used that Hebrew letter. You saw it when you just disappear and go from one side to the other. Alright, please subscribe to the channel. Y'all for Hebrews and Christians. We're going to pick this up. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.
I'm not just hearing it, I'm going to speak it into my life, because my words can change and shift my world.
proceeding